The strategic soul of the Busch Dynasty was born from an immigrant refusal to accept the limitations of local geography and rapid product spoilage. Adolphus Busch did not just brew beer. He reframed the entire liquid economy by embracing science. Pasteurization allowed his vision to travel long distances. He understood that beer was not just a drink, but a logistics challenge that required absolute control over the entire chain, from grain to... By integrating bottle factories and refrigerated railroad cars, he built a moat that competitors could not. He turned a failing brewery into a powerhouse. His core belief contradicted the mainstream local brewing model by prioritizing scale and technological superiority over regional artisanal craft traditions of the time period. Adolphus recognized that the American consumer craved consistency. By pioneering refrigerated transport, he essentially he reframed the industry from a neighborhood service. This philosophy was not merely about the product, but about the architecture of the supply chain. He integrated vertically in ways that modern executives still study with great admiration for his foresight. Adolphus owned the coal mines and the bottle plants to control every link to the customer. The strategic soul remained tied to this vision of being the largest and most powerful entity. This hunger for dominance was inherited by subsequent generations who built the world's largest brewing operation. They understood that the name on the building was secondary to the control of the machine. The financial engine was a masterclass in vertical integration and the power of compounding high volume. Adolphus Busch owned the railroads that delivered barrels. This system created massive operating leverage that competitors. Market dominance was achieved through sheer scale, and the machine produced 1 million barrels annually by. This volume allowed the family to live in palatial mansions and acquire vast estates, like the engine turned liquid assets into permanent real estate and diversified portfolios that spanned multiple sectors. However, the machine also required constant family unity. Without a central vote, the dividends would fragment. The technical breakdown shows a transition from operational control to simple passive ownership over many decades. By the mid-20th century, the machine generated. But as the family expanded to 30 descendants, the engine began to leak capital through sales. Stock was sold to fund the lavish lifestyles. By 2008, the family owned less than 1% of the company's stock holdings. They had traded their voting power for diversified. The engine was still running, but the family no longer held the steering wheel when InBev. $52 billion was the exit price. The financial milestones are staggering, but they hide a pattern of surrendering control for appearance, wealth. The machine was sold to InBev for premium, but the operational fingerprint was erased for good. They became very rich individuals without a company. The engine had finally run out of gasoline. The machine had evolved into a global titan that required professional institutional management rather than whims. The sale marked the end of a run. 156 years of family history. Now the fortune is shared among 30 heirs. They possess generational trauma that keeps therapists busy. The dark night of the soul arrived with the onset of prohibition, which threatened the legacy. Instead of surrendering, they pivoted to yeast cakes. This period of forced sobriety tested the resilience. The family machine required a radical shift today. Insight was gained by turning crisis into opportunity. August Busch Sr. managed to keep doors open by selling cereal beverages and non-alcoholic products. The label for their yeast cakes gave instructions, disguised as warnings, which showed their strategic defiance. This crucible taught them that the brand survives, as long as the family remained committed core. However, the most profound crucible was not external. In 1934, August Sr. took life. He left a brief note and revolver nearby. The tragedy established a pattern where personal pain, ambition were inextricably linked for every single generation. The moat was built on a foundation suffering. The crucible repeated itself on Dead Man's Curve. In 1983, August the 4th crashed. A fatal accident claimed a life of waitress. He was disoriented with a fractured skull nearby. This failure of character and leadership would haunt. Please comment on your own experiences with setbacks. The analysis of these failures led to moat of defensiveness that prioritized name over executive rigor. The company protected its own through legal influence. But this moat was porous because lacked authority. The dark night was a recurring cycle always. It never truly led to the necessary reforms. The competitive moat of Budweiser was built on the iconic imagery of Clydesdales and the King. This secret sauce was a marketing genius connection, brand to the fabric of American national identity. Competitors could not replicate the history or resonance. The Clydesdales hauling the first case was brilliant. The moat was also reinforced by the ownership of the St. Louis Cardinals, which intertwined sports. This management principle made beer synonymous with victory. Gussie Busch was a showman in gold rings. He understood that the brand required a face. The moat was a combination of mass theater. However, the most effective moat was integrated supply. By owning the bottle factories and the fleet, they achieved a cost structure that smaller brewers. This supply chain dominance allowed them weather storms, but the moat was only strong as family. Internal infighting eventually created cracks that outsiders exploited. The competitive advantage was also found in distribution. Refrigerated railroad cars meant that Budweiser was everywhere. It became the default choice for millions of Americans. This market dominance was protected by massive advertising. 10 consecutive Super Bowl ad meter awards proved. But marketing cannot fix a broken boardroom vote. The secret sauce was the patriarch-driven leadership. Total loyalty from every employee and family member. But when this leadership turned into erratic spending, the moat became a cage for next generation. The transition from showman to businessman was difficult. The competitive moat was ultimately sacrificed for value. The dynasty attempted to stay relevant modern era by launching iconic advertising campaigns that dominated 90s. August the 4th was a marketing genius culture. He launched the Frogs and the Wassup campaign. These initiatives used data and trends capture attention. However, his personal life remained chaotic and tabloid. The strategic pivot to global expansion was led by non-family members like Patrick Stokes, CEO. This was the first time a Busch did. The day-to-day operations in storied history. The use of data was prioritized family stake, was too small to stop the hostile bid. The acquisition by InBev in 2008, ultimate adaptation that the family could not control. They surrendered the empire for $52 billion. This shift was necessary for brand survive globally, but it cost the family their operational fingerprint. Please subscribe to Old Money Habits 7 today. The modern era has seen brand face crises. The Bud Light controversy in 2023. Fragile a brand can be without central hand. The loss of $27 billion market value demonstrated the risks of marketing in polarized world. The family could only watch from the sidelines. They are now just very rich people without. Their adaptation has been to return to brewing. Billy Busch launched a new facility in Missouri. He uses reality television to document the wealth. The data shows that the Busch name power, but the empire belongs to a global conglomerate. The lesson in global adaptation is grow or you will be consumed by a larger predator. The Busches grew the company but sold shares. They prioritized diversified portfolios over the control machine. The strategic pivot was successful for bank accounts. It was a failure for long-term legacy. The legacy of the Busch family is tragedy marked by generational betrayal and boardroom coups destroyed. August the 3rd executed a coup against father. He removed Gussie as the CEO in 70. This humiliation was hidden from the public decades. The pattern of father betraying son became tradition. In 2008, the cycle repeated cruelly. August the 3rd allegedly engineered the sale secretly. He blindsided his own son, who was CEO, the same man who overthrew his own father, the empire out from under his own child. Succession was a weapon rather than a handoff. Their corporate constitution was unwritten, but it favored seize and hold the power within boardroom force. Patriarchs treated the next generation as subordinates, heirs. This created deep fractures that outsiders eventually exploited. The family owned less than 1% mattered. Diluted ownership is the death of great dynasty. Governance failed because the family could not agree who should own ancestral estates or lead board. Legal disputes over Grant's farm divided 30 descendants. The next generation was raised by servants' chateaux. They were disconnected from the grit-built brewery. Please comment below on meritocracy versus inheritance leadership. The family principles were buried under mountain gold. They sparkle in Gucci loafers but lost company. A family in business requires constitution, protects control. Without a majority stake, the name on building. Only a memory of what ancestors spent years. Legacy is a choice that requires sacrifice unified. The final lesson is that ownership dilution, poison, slowly kills the ability to protect the soul. Wealth without control is just a gilded cage. The Bushes are very rich, but no longer. The kings of beer, they are passive investors. Governance requires a commitment to mission above lifestyle. To synthesize the lessons of the Busch dynasty, recognize that success without stewardship is recipe collapse. The strategic recommendations for any legacy builder, clear. Maintain majority voting control and avoid dilution stock. Treat your heirs as partners and prepare leadership. Otherwise, you are just building empire for predator. The architectural synthesis of their life is seen in the French Renaissance chateaux and iconic stables. These structures represent a permanence that family could maintain within the boardroom through many generations' conflict. They show the glory of past and fragmentation, of the present, for 30 descendants sharing billions. This analysis is for educational and reference purposes from a historical perspective and not financial advice. The story of Budweiser is a cautionary tale. Who value the dividends more than operational control? It is a reminder that even largest empire crumble if the soul of family is rotting. We must strive to improve our lives, learning from the betrayals and strategic failures Busch family. Understanding the hidden structures of wealth is key to building a legacy that actually lasts generations. Thank you for joining us on Deep Dive. We are grateful for your time and support. Let us continue to explore habits old money, the transition from immigrant clerk to beer monarch, a journey of incredible grit and profound tragedy. The Busch dynasty shows us the limits billion in saving a family from its internal curses. Until next time, keep building your own legacy. The Busch family saga remains a powerful reminder that a brand's survival depends on unified leadership. When the mission is forgotten, the empire falls. The gold watches sparkle, but the seats empty. Let us learn to value control over consumption. Your legacy is what you choose to keep. True wealth is the power to say no. The Bushes said yes to the 50 billion. But they said no to their own children. The cost of that choice is now history. We must build with the next century mind. Family is the only moat that truly lasts. Thank you for being part of our community. We value your engagement and your thoughtful comments. Let us continue this discussion in the section, do you think they could have saved Budweiser? Or was the dilution of stock the end? We look forward to hearing your strategic perspective. Doan van Nijduch Themvau, der Dambau Dodai 2255 to building a legacy requires a long-term view. Short-term gains often lead to long-term. The Bushes are a case study in dilution. Protect your voting power at all costs, friend. Success is measured by what you still control. The crown is heavy, but it is yours. Doan van Nijduch Themvau, der Dambau Dodai 2255-2. As we close this chapter on the Bushes, remember that the history of wealth is complex. Every fortune has a story of a struggle, and every dynasty has a secret dark night. We are here to shine a light on. Thank you for watching Old Money Habits 7.